All right, so friends, Professor Walter Veith and Brother Martin recently made this video that contains a lot of information about the time in which we are living right now. In fact, the video has gone viral, over 100,000 views, and I think this is because of the information that the video contains. Friends, we thank Professor Walter Veith and Brother Martin for their excellent work. Let's enjoy.
So there they stand. Isn't it amazing that they dress more or less like they would when they visit the Pope?
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is the veil.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I'm talking under correction now, but the previous inaugurations, they weren't dressed in black.
No. But this is very fascinating to me. And he gets onto that stage and he makes that speech, and he is so direct. He is acting on behalf of the King of the North.
Yeah.
He's saying, this has gone far enough, we are reversing it. And I'm going to sign executive orders on this very day. And he does it publicly. And one executive order after another is signed.
Yeah.
There are only two sexes. God created them male and female. The United States will recognize two sexes. And so you carry on. And every now and then you'll have a lapdog barking and saying, no, you shouldn't give this up and you shouldn't give that up. And then you must have the strong arm saying, even if it's a woman preacher, you will tell her, you will not, saying that's a very bad thing that you are doing, etc.
Even the Pope came out and said when he heard this border executive orders that if that is true, he is totally against it and all of this.
So all of these executive orders, any logical person will say, that's common sense.
Yeah.
And he said it. He said it in so many words. He said this is all common sense.
He said it's bringing logic back into...
Bringing common sense back. And if you really think about it, then many will have to agree.
Yeah, for sure.
And his popularity is rising like crazy, right? So Martin, what does all of this mean?
Week one of Donald Trump's second presidency, and a lot has happened. On Monday, he was sworn in.
I was saved by God to make America great again.
2 more speeches, a rally and a press conference would follow, and executive orders, 26 of them. Some signed at the rally with pens thrown to the crowd, others signed in the Oval Office. They brought a declaration of a national emergency on the US border with Mexico, pardons for many involved in January the 6th, withdrawal from the World Health Organization, withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement, the Gulf of Mexico renamed the Gulf of America, and restrictions eased on oil and gas exploration, or as Mr. Trump put it, drill, baby, drill. There was this too.
There are only two genders, male and female.
On Gaza, the president said he wasn't confident the ceasefire will hold and added,
it's a phenomenal location. On the sea, the best weather.
By this point, a gesture by Elon Musk was getting attention, and the president's day ended with 3 balls and some dancing to YMCA with a sword. Tuesday brought another pardon of Russ Ulbricht, who ran a dark web marketplace where illegal drugs were sold. Trump called those who'd prosecuted him scum. It was announced all government diversity staff would be put on paid leave, and a $500 billion AI startup was announced, to which Elon Musk responded, they don't actually have the money. On Wednesday, Trump called on Putin to stop the ridiculous war in Ukraine, or Russia would face sanctions. Then on TV, the president appeared to hint Joe Biden could be prosecuted. And on security protection, former Trump Secretary of State Mike Pompeo had his revoked. So had former National Security Advisor John Bolton. Both allegedly faced threats from Iran. Thursday brought another speech. Tariffs were mentioned, as was the idea of Canada becoming part of the US.
I say you can always become a state. And if you're a state, we won't have a deficit.
In Seattle, a federal judge blocked Trump's executive order to ban birthright citizenship, calling it blatantly unconstitutional. And the president ordered documents on the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr. to be declassified.
That's a big one, huh?
The week ended with images of deportation flights. Anthony Fauci, who led the US response to COVID, had his security revoked, and the president left Washington for California and North Carolina. In his inauguration speech, Donald Trump had declared,
The golden age of America begins right now.
Now we know from Revelation chapter 13 that this second beast, church and state united, this image of the beast will be prescriptive, right? And that he will force everyone to do his will. So Martin, he started deporting his people, and the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, caved to Donald Trump's tariff threat of his plane for migrant repatriation. He saw to it that the planes that Donald Trump sent, military planes, were not allowed to land. And he railed on X about the issue. Isn't that interesting? He uses X. Isn't that, Donald Musk's X, which is, of course, also a hidden Masonic issue. We've dealt with that before. And then he got a 25% tariff slapped on him, and within a week it will be 50%. And where will they go with their coffee? Starbucks will be having a hard time, right? And then he said, no, it was just about the way in which it was done. He was going to send his own aeroplane to go and take them with dignity, all these criminals. Now,
so that was the president now of Colombia.
Now, if all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, how many of this is an act, and how much of it is real? We won't know.
No.
We won't know. But we're just watching, right? And then Rubio went and said, Afghanistan is still holding American citizens.
Hostages.
Hostage. Well, they're in jail in Afghanistan. They're not hostages. They're in jail for supposed crimes that they apparently didn't commit. And Joe Biden made a deal with them, and there was a prisoner exchange. And he somehow neglected to bring these two that are still there back to America. So Rubio said, you guys in Afghanistan, you better release those guys. We're telling you to release them. And they're playing hardball. So he said, you know what's going to happen? We'll put a bounty on you. So now many of these people are wearing bulletproof vests.
Yeah.
So basically, if you look at that threat, it means if you don't do what we say, you're going to die.
That's it.
We're going to take you out. And they have the capacity and the capability of doing it, as they've shown many, many times, using their proxy, which is Israel.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even. Maybe it is even the United States behind the scenes. We don't know.
I don't know, but the threats are not merely threats anymore.
No, they are now real. And whether you are an ally, in other words, whether you are a European nation, whether it be China or whether it be Iran or whether it be the BRICS nations. Martin, all of these things are so interesting. And, those that belong to the perceived enemy, whether it now be Russia or whether it be China or whether it be BRICS, they seem to be passing legislation that is so contrary to what he's doing.
We can give an example. At the World Economic Forum, Trump's speech, if you compare it to Klaus Schwab or even the president of the G20, who is Cyril Ramaphosa, who's actually South Africa's president, is totally different.
And yet they cheered.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know.
And he took the bankers apart right there.
Yeah.
The CEO of the Bank of America, By the way, that's a Jesuit-run institution. And all of these games that they're playing. And in South Africa, they now have the Land Seizure Act.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they've read the story of Ahab and Naboth's vineyard. I don't know whether they've read that. You know, you have to be very careful before you do things like that.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing is he leveled the playing field in one shot. There will be no more affirmative action or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
That's now Donald Trump. Everybody will be
on merit.
On merit, yes. Now, wouldn't some countries benefit from things like that?
Yeah.
So modern logic and common sense seems to be entrenched in this new system. And that's why it will be acceptable to many.
Yeah.
But what about that unity that negates Jesus Christ
You see,
and the atonement?
That is where it is such a dangerous thing. And we've warned for years that this will probably be going this way. And it will be taking a lot of the sentiment of people. They want this to be like it.
Correct. Now, how do you determine whether you will obey God or not? If you read the Old Testament, there is no doubt in the Old Testament that the number one issue showing allegiance to God was the Sabbath.
Yeah, that's it.
You can go through from Genesis all the way through Malachi. And what the prophets warned about, and what Ezekiel warned against, and what all of them stood for, and what Isaiah said, it was always the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first thing that goes out of the window when you turn your back upon the true God and start worshiping Baal is the Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that goes. And Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And he who says he loves me and keeps not my commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in them. And not one jot or one tittle will by any means disappear from the law. And here's this arrogant little horn power that changes God's times and laws. And Sunday is his mark of authority. He states it publicly. And Sunday is entrenched in their 2025 document.
And if you don't believe that 2025, the project is being implemented, you can just have a look at the executive orders. Who do you think is writing the executive orders?
And now, Martin, there's another thing that's interesting. I know we're just talking now today.
But that's what...
I find this so fascinating. This massive talk about UFOs that we're having at the moment, and the US military opening up and saying this is a reality and this and that and the other. There will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and there will be things happening in the skies. And demons will be masquerading as Christs. And they will probably be saying that they are from an alien world.
Yeah.
And that they have come to bring us up to a higher plane. And Alice A. Bailey says 2025, this year, they will manifest themselves. So you have fires. And people are screaming, we must turn back to God.
Yeah. Well, you remember the Golden Globes? That awards were just before this, and then they had the whole scene there where they said that the popularity of God in Hollywood was zero. There was 0 votes for God and all of these other things. And then people are, again, bringing it back to just after that, the fires broke out. So it's
correct. Very interesting.
All right. Cast and crew are leading the way with 11 mentions. Moms are holding strong with 3 shout-outs. God, creator of the universe, 0 mentions. And Mario Lopez, host of Access Hollywood, 1. All right. No surprise in this godless town.
And then you have video shows where you have bad girls that now suddenly turn into Bible girls.
Yeah. Podcast. Young girls that they even prayed at the Trump rally.
Correct. Why are comedians trending towards Catholicism? One quirky comic offers a surprising explanation. He says, I was discerning Christianity and sort of leaning Protestant, but I stepped into a Catholic church one afternoon and I finally just gave in to this compulsion. And I had an experience with our Heavenly Mother, Mary. She reached out and touched me, he described, and I wept the hardest I've ever wept. So he sees the Virgin Mary. Signs and wonders.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Martin, they mention all the other celebrities that have turned Catholic.
Yeah, and comedians and celebrities.
And comedians. Now, Martin, how important is it that we know what happens to those that die?
You can see exactly what happens if you have the wrong idea. You will believe that Mary can appear to you.
Now, Martin, if the dead know nothing, and that they will not awake until they hear the voice of the Son of God at the second coming, that is absolutely crystal clear in the Bible, unless you want to believe that Mary was conceived immaculately, in other words, that she was without sin from the beginning. Now, if God could do that for Mary, then why did he have to come and die? He could have done it for you and me and dispensed with this atonement, right?
Yeah.
But she was born under the law, says the Bible. In other words, the condemnation of the law. And Jesus died for her as much as he died for you and for me. So this whole doctrine is a doctrine of devils. And this Mary that appeared to him cannot be Mary because she is dead and asleep, even though the papacy says she had a transformation and went to heaven. She ascended into heaven. So who is it that appeared to him? It's a demon.
Yeah.
Now, Robert and Marlo will be doing one on the state of the dead. And people need to take cognizance of these things so that we are not duped by occurrences like this.
For sure.
So, Martin, you are being duped by signs and wonders and lies and doctrines of devils.
And unfortunately, all of this is ensconced and comes from the papal system.
Our people are dying for lack of knowledge. It is ignorance. And Trump named Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and John Voight special ambassadors to troubled Hollywood. They'll bring lost business back. So here are his ambassadors. Now, Martin, this is a very interesting move, don't you think? What about Mel Gibson?
That is, well, just before we go to him, just thinking of it, it's Jesuit theatre. And this is actually telling us we're taking Jesuit theatre back to get the work done.
And we will use Jesuit theatre to get the work done. And we'll have a pendulum swing in Hollywood. And Mel Gibson is the one who, you know, is known for his interesting movies, The Passion of the Christ. What was that thief on the cross doing with a kaddish around him? We've spoken about all of these things. These are Jesuit theatre implants. And no wonder that he received an honorary doctorate from Loyola University, a Jesuit.
He even, in the podcast that he had with Joe Rogan, and I'll put a link into it, for it, he explained very clearly that the guy that was on, that the actor that played Jesus also went through the spiritual exercises to play the role.
Yes.
And we've done the spiritual exercises showing the people where that comes from.
Correct.
And another thing, if he talks in there, you'll hear that he's a conservative Catholic. But
yeah, so he's with the cardinal that the Pope has just defrocked.
Yes, so he's actually, let's say, a pre-Vatican II Catholic. If that's his stance.
That's what he is. He's a pre-Vatican II Catholic. And Martin, this is exactly where it's heading to. Because the children, the Protestant churches that no longer have a discernment between what is right and what is wrong, they are prepared, for the sake of ecumenism, to sacrifice the Son of God anew,
Yeah.
giving him up getting rid of their salvation. How is that even possible? And all the stages speaking about unity and Abrahamic accord and brotherly love, and let's get biblical standards and norms back, but let's deny the Son of God, and let's deny his sign of authority.
Yeah.
The Sabbath, verily my Sabbath you shall keep, because it is a sign forever that I am the one who sanctifies you. Let's attack his authority and get rid of it. Who is he that I should obey his voice? Martin, we are living in very dangerous times.
This is what Ellen G. White actually has to say about the times in which we are. She said that in Prophet and Kings and also in Last Day Events. She wrote, "The present is a time of overwhelming interest to all living, rulers and statesmen, men who occupy positions of trust and authority, thinking men and women of all classes, have their attention fixed upon the events taking place about us. They are watching the relations that exist among the nations. They observe the intensity that is taking possession of every earthly element, and they recognize that something great and decisive is about to take place, that the world is on the verge of a crisis." This is so true, brothers and sisters. The world is on the verge of crisis. And so if you are asleep, my brothers and sisters, you gotta wake up. Now let us look at another statement from Ellen G. White. She wrote in Last Days Events, "The word came to Noah, come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me." Noah obeyed and was saved. The message came to Lot, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city." Lot placed himself under the guardianship of the heavenly messengers and was saved. So Christ's disciples were given warning of the destruction of Jerusalem. Those who watched for the sign of the coming ruin and fled from the city escaped the destruction. So now we are given warning of Christ's second coming and of the destruction to fall upon the world. Those who heed the warning will be saved. Friends, that was so deep. That was so deep. And the Lord does not hide anything from his people. Anything that he intends to do right here on this earth, he has made known to us. He told the people of old during the time of Noah, the coming destruction. Those who obeyed were saved. The time of Lot, those who obeyed were saved. And today, through the writings of the Bible and the spirit of prophecy, we have understood, or we know, that something is right upon us. Dangerous times are right ahead of us. And so we need to prepare. But we are in the time where people are fast asleep. Some Adventists are fast asleep. They don't even see what is going on. They don't recognize the signs that are taking place right before our eyes. We need to wake up, because every single sign indicates the second coming of Jesus. Every single sign indicates that we are heading toward the end. The end is right upon us. You know? So I want to pause here, friends. I want to pause here and invite in your comment. What do you think about the video that I shared concerning what Professor Walter Veith actually talked about concerning the times in which we are? What do you think about that? And also share your thoughts concerning the statement of Ellen G. White that I read. Friends, this is all that I had to share with you. Thanks for watching. See you next time. God bless.